everyone. So as most of you probably know, I've had my first amateur MMA fight just recently. I've lost by split decision. Long story short, if you want the long version, just check out the previous video, which is called Aftermath. It's something like Aikido, ex-Aikido guys, first amateur fight. So all the details about the fight itself are there. But on this video, I'll focus on something that I promised in that video, where I was talking about a lot of the mistakes I did that I was aware of, that I'm conscious of, which led me to develop a new game plan or a new training plan for the next fight, because the next fight will be happening. So in this video, I will break down and share with you the priorities of what I will be training for the next fight. And hopefully that way, not only can you continue to share my journey and to see how my journey evolves, but also give me some feedback and some ideas if some of the ideas that I have and the plans I have for my training may be off, or maybe you would suggest to do something differently, or if it's a good plan and you support it. So just kind of a feedback loop for you as my audience and me as myself. Now the first part that I've written down is head movement. So that was a big mistake. I feel that was in my first fight. Normally I do use head movement in sparring, but I think I used it more in the first few months I was training, and I started to use it less later on. And I feel that's a huge mistake, because eventually in the fight, if you watch again the footage of the fight, I was not moving my head a lot at all. That led me to swallowing a lot of punches with my head, even when my opponent was making like big swings and haymakers, and I could have easily avoided them by slipping, bobbing, and weaving my head, but I didn't. Of course, my corners were shouting, "Move your head, move your head, Rokas," but the crowd was so loud, even my coaches admitted it was hard to hear them. But when I did, especially at round 3, and I slipped a punch, like my opponent was doing haymaker, and I slipped, and I was like, whoa, that was easy. And he was slipping my punches all the time. I mean, he slipped quite a few of them, and he was lowering his head way too low. If you watch the video, you will see that I unfortunately cannot knee your opponent in the head, and I just didn't catch him that way. But he slipped a lot of my punches, and I didn't. I was too focused on just giving his share back. So again, that's my mistake. But I want to make sure that I do not repeat that mistake again. Obviously, it's also about footwork, making sure that I keep my distance and I step away. But what I am concerned about is, in terms of the head movement, is even when I shadow box, I realized post-fight, when I did some shadow boxing, I realized I'm not moving my head much at all, even in shadow boxing. And I thought, if I don't have that habit, even while shadow boxing, probably that habit will not come up in a fight. So I really have to make sure that it's just like a dead-on habit that I will always have, that I will always be moving my upper body, my head, and especially when there are punches. So I want to focus on that. This is not like the main thing, but just the first thing I wrote down. I want to make sure I focus on that, and I include it in my shadow boxing, in my bag work, and in sparring, and hopefully that'll be a good addition as I prepare for my next fight. Now the next thing I wrote down on my list, on my to train list, is killer kicks. So this is a very common comment and feedback that I got from a bunch of you guys when you watched my first fight. A lot of people pointed out my big thighs, and I had them forever. I think it's just, actually I think it's from training Aikido. Yay, Aikido works, quote unquote. But actually I think it is from Aikido, because in Aikido we fall and stand up, we fall and stand up, we fall and stand up so many times that I think that may be part of the reason why my thighs just became huge. And I never heard that before, but so many of you wrote that having those big thighs, having those big legs, potentially is a lead up for very good kicks. And my kicks are not that awesome. The reason is because my kicks were not that good, and I did not want to focus on using something that is not that good in my curriculum. I wanted to make sure I use the best things that I'm comfortable with in the fight, and not go for something random. At the same time, I have long legs. I was using the teep kick, which I still need to develop and work on, but that was in my curriculum for the fight. I used a few kicks, like low kicks, round kicks, but I have to admit, even while I was wearing shin pads, which is a downer because the damages are already diffused, but at the same time I have to admit my kicks are not that awesome, but they could be. And I had an opportunity to really land quite a few kicks. It was just open, it was just there. And if I would have killer kicks, it would have made such a huge difference, especially with the long reach of legs that I have. So for my next fight, I do not want to lose that anymore. I do not want to leave kicking aside. I want to really work a lot on my kicks, that my kick would be powerful, that my kick would be powerful and destructive, and it would be one of the main tools that I have. So I really, again, want to focus on that. And if you guys have, and girls, if you have some suggestions how to do that, how to develop the kicks, please let me know in the comments. I'm more than interested to hear about your opinions. One of the things which I was suggested by my friend Daniel, who is a high-level Taekwondo guy, but also he practices MMA, is he suggested a technique that I believe Muay Thai fighters use, is where you do a single kick, then 2 kicks, then 3 kicks in a row, then 4 kicks, eventually you reach 10, and then you go 9 kicks in a row, 8, 7, 6, 5. So I am going to work on that, shin conditioning as well. But again, if you have some suggestions, let me know. I'm more than interested to know about that. Now, the next thing I need to address in this video is that I will be spending a few months in Lithuania back home with my wife and Huskies. And I will do that before I eventually come back to Portland to train with my coaches. And the thing is, in Lithuania, especially in my hometown, I won't have a lot of access to quality coaching. There is the gym, which I used to go to before I went to Portland. Jiu-Jitsu is pretty good there, although it's not ideal. It's not exactly what I'm searching for. There's a fair game of MMA there, so I can practice there, but at the same time, it is not necessarily what I'm looking for, so that's a bit of a downer. But I have a plan which I'm going to share with you right now in order to compensate for that. So since the quality of the coaching that I will have access to in Lithuania might be limited, I decided to really focus on physical attributes, the things which I can really work on while I am by myself. And the first one that I want to mention is killer cardio. Now again, if you watch my first fight, you know that potentially I might have had altitude sickness. I definitely had a lot of dried up blood in my nose, so I was swallowing a lot of blood and I had a hard time breathing through my nose. So all of those things cut off my cardio quite a bit, but at the same time, I believe my cardio, of course, could be way better than it was that day. And the interesting thing, quite a few of my teammates did mention to me that cardio is king, that if you can outlast your opponent, you will have a huge advantage. And for sure, that is what I noticed in my fight. This was one of those revelations which I feel that was hard to really recognize until I was in the fight, until I experienced it. But now it's so clear to me that if I would have had way better cardio and I would have been way my opponent gassed out quite bad, especially in round 3, but I was gassed out too. But at the same time, if he would have gassed out and I would have been still in shape, I would have definitely won that match. There would have been no question. I would have just destroyed the guy. So I definitely want to put up that high on my list. And again, just one more thing that I'm thinking about is that even if you have the best technique, there's a famous phrase which I love, which says, I believe it says, fatigue makes cowards out of champions. And I definitely see why. And even if you have if I would have amazing technique and amazing game plan, but I'm gassed out, you just cannot deliver that. So I don't want to throw out through the window all of the training, the technical training that I do just because of poor cardio. So I want to make sure that doesn't happen. I want to make sure I have really good cardio, and I really want to work a lot on it, especially while I'm here in Lithuania. My plan to develop killer cardio is to do both aerobic and anaerobic training. Obviously, I want to focus on the anaerobic more because a fight demands it more. It's a lot of exertion of energy, lacking oxygen in short bits, and the fight is not that long, but it's just super intense. So I want to make sure that I do a lot of training for that, but obviously I will train both. Some of the plans and ideas I have for my cardio training is HIIT, high intensity interval training. I read some scientific articles about how effective and good that is, and obviously that will also include some explosive power exercises, which I will still get to, but I definitely won't disregard long distance jogging and just kind of the long-term endurance and cardio as well. One more thing high on my priority list is also footwork. Now, I was told already, and I noticed how much footwork can change. If you have good and fast footwork, you can enter quicker, you can attack quicker, surprise the opponent, you can step away, you can quarter turn and evade the opponent. It's just so much you can do with good footwork. So I want to make sure that while here, it's not something I need a high level coaching for, especially in terms of the footwork, in terms of the speed of your feet and coordination and balance, which can really be accessed by doing ladder work drills. So I want to spend a lot of time doing a lot of different ladder work drills to make sure that my feet are super fast, coordinated, explosive, powerful, has the endurance to last until the end of the fight. So for sure that will be high on my list. And also obviously the classical jump rope. And plus hopefully some other drills that I will find in terms of developing my footwork. Now the last but not least point on my bullet point priority list is explosive power, and speed. Again, in my opinion, that can be such a huge game changer. So if their speed, already power increases, because it is, as much as I know, speed plus mass equals energy. So I want to make sure the speed part of the equation is there. If you have fast feet, if you have fast hands, it's so much harder to defend against those strikes. And also the power increases with that as well. Obviously, it applies both to my strikes with my hands and also my kicks. Explosive power as well. If I will hit but without power, the way I perceive it, I can hit the opponent all day long. But if there will be no power, there will be no damage, and yeah, that'll go nowhere. Maybe I'll get some points, but I will not destroy my partner. I will not destroy my opponent. I will not tire him out. I will not knock him out. So many things I will lose if I will not have the explosive power that I want to work on. The way I want to develop that is through basic explosive power, power and speed exercises just in general fitness, but also just pure exercises specifically for MMA, just like working on the speed of my punch, working on the speed of my kick, working on the heavy bag. So yeah, anything that I can add, I will definitely add. And last thing I wanted to mention here as well, I really want to make sure that the exercises I do would translate to MMA as best as I can, especially general fitness exercises. I am aware that if you just get a piece of iron and you just do curls, that does not translate much to MMA. So I want to discover and find and make a list of as many exercises that directly, or as much as possible, translate to MMA, so that the exercise I would do would have the biggest benefit for my next fight as possible. And just to summarize in how exactly I'm planning to train, I'm planning to train at least once, hopefully even 2 times per day, every day, and obviously being smart, taking my breaks, making sure I had rest days, I had proper sleep, I had proper nutrition, and also occasionally doing the necessary deloading, which I've read a lot about online through scientific means, and I feel that obviously it's actually one of the biggest things I learned while I was in Portland here this time, and I learned it actually in the first few months of training, which could be put simply as hard training equals hard rest. So when I will train hard a lot, that of course implies that I will also make sure I will rest hard and eat smart and just like the whole package. So this is the list of things that I decided that I can work on while I will be in Lithuania without access to the coaching that I am looking for. Basically, to summarize how I perceive this approach, I would say that I want to develop as much as I can my physical attributes, that by the time I go back to Portland and I will receive the coaching that I want to receive, that I will be ready, super ultra ready like a sponge, that I would have killer cardio, speed, power, that everything would be there. I would just need some fine-tuning adjustments by my coaches in terms of technique, but every technique that they would throw at me, I could execute it as best as I can. I would have the cardio and endurance and the power and everything to train as much as possible there, to not get tired too quickly, and obviously to maintain all of that for the fight, so that by the time I stand in the octagon in front of another opponent, I would be just at a very different, higher level than I was in my first fight. So this wraps up my sharing of my training plans for the next few months while I'm in Lithuania. There's also some other cool things that are happening, but I'll let you know about that in the next videos. I will also publish, there's actually a set of videos that I'm still holding back from the time I was in the States, some amazing interviews I had, and some other sessions that I just did not have the chance to upload, so make sure you keep an eye for that. But aside that, You know my plan, you know my ideas. Let me know in the comments what you think about it, what do you agree about, what do you disagree. Maybe there's something missing, maybe have some advice and suggestions, some videos, articles. Send me everything. Of course I will not be able to look at it all. I definitely spend a lot of time reading comments. Even if I don't respond, I put the heart on, which means I read it. But also I think a lot about it and I try to take in as much as I can. So yeah, if you have some quality advice and suggestions, I would be more than curious to hear it. And for my last words, thank you as always for your support. It means a lot to me. It's just, I feel this channel is exploding and growing into something really amazing and inspiring for everyone, including myself. I'm very happy for that. So yeah, thank you for that. And actually, the last thing, we are working on some merch. We're working on some t-shirts, hoodies, which hopefully will be very cool. So if you want to support this journey through different ways, expressing your martial arts journey, hopefully that'll be out soon and I will wear it in the next video. But yeah, sorry, that's just a side thing. Again, thank you for everything, guys, girls, and yeah, as always, I wish you to own your journey, and I'll see you on the virtual mat again next time.